So we just heard Fred Reed talk about going in to create Virgin America. JetBlue, obviously, very successful. There's been a lot of discussion, though, by analysts, me, Wall Street, others, that has the airline industry boiled down to this black and white, bipolar, if you will, model of you're either a global airline or a low-cost airline. Is that where we've settled into these days?
Well, honestly, you certainly hear it talked about a lot, but, by analysts like you, by Wall Street especially. The thing I would say is, if it were to be the case in the airline business, A, JetBlue wouldn't be there, and B, we'd be the only business in the history of any sort of consumer-facing business that really only has two categories. If you go through retail, you go through hospitality. It's like if you went to retail and said, we have either Family Dollar or Nordstrom's and nothing in between. Now, I think the challenge that we have as a business is that customers really do see it as more of a commodity than it necessarily is. I mean, JetBlue was designed from day one to be, what we call as the best economy experience of any airline. And now with our premium cabin to the West Coast, the best premium cabin experience of any airline domestically. But as a customer, when you're accustomed to going to places like Orbitz or Expedia, you sort by price, and you say, you know what, this guy's $5 cheaper, I'm taking him or her or whatever. People aren't really fully in that mode of recognizing there's a difference. Now, our regular customers certainly get it, but I think there's a great percentage of customers out there who still look at that sort of it's price or nothing else. And I don't malign either of the two models that are out there. The Spirit model is a great model, very profitable model, but it has its challenges. I mean, if you want to fly to Florida tomorrow for $99, you can do it, but it's a challenge, because to make $99, you basically say to yourself, A, I've got to go drive to the airport to buy my ticket at the counter. I need to not check a bag. I need to not carry on a bag. I need to not eat or drink anything. I need to sit in whatever seat they tell me. And then I will be in Florida in 3 hours for $99. I'm going to feel very good with myself. Now, the good news for JetBlue is a lot of customers get off that and say, I'm never doing that again. If a customer who wants to do it for $99, it's a great customer, happy they do it. They're probably not really set up for us. But there's a lot of customers on Spirit who say, you know what, I don't know if I'm sure I want to do that again. And honestly, I think you see the same thing on the other side of the spectrum. If I am a guy like you, a Concierge Key or Global Services or whatever you might be on a United or American, you're not underserved.
I'm nothing. For the record, I'm a nothing.
Okay, duly noted.
I'm a doughy white guy in the middle seat.
But if you're at the top of the tier for a legacy airline, you've got a pretty good experience. I mean, go back to watch George Clooney Up in the Air. He had a pretty good life. He is not underserved. But if you are that first level elite traveler on Delta, a Medallion Silver, you can't even get in the security line. And we've done research with customers who will say, I fly 30,000 miles a year. I fly a ton, and I gave every single one of my miles to Delta, and I get nothing. That customer is sort of the same customer who also feels underserved. So, in that spectrum in the middle, I think it's actually a place where someone like JetBlue fits very well.
So as we think about the future of travel, is the future of travel serving the underserved then? I mean, should we be, is there a large enough business opportunity for brands to go after the customer who is more than an infrequent traveler but isn't the true road warrior? Is that where brands should be focusing?
No, listen, I think there's a place in every part of the spectrum. Family Dollar, very successful business. Nordstrom's very successful business. Spirit, very successful. Delta, very successful. It's a wide spectrum.
Yeah, but JetBlue, maybe not so successful in the eyes of Wall Street.
I'm feeling very successful right now, Henry. I don't know about you.
Well, I said in the eyes of Wall Street.
Sure.
I mean, Wall Street is hoping you are going to decrease seat pitch, put in bag fees, and start to act like some of the other airlines. That's a lot of external pressure
Sure.
on you as the head of marketing, as the advocate for the customer. Mm-hmm. How do you fight back against some of that when you've got people who are truly influential in terms of the valuation of your company saying, here's what you should do, and you're sitting there saying, we want to be kind of in between the Family General or the Dollar General and the Nordstroms?
Well, let me start by saying, we do work for our shareholders. So I don't really worry about Wall Street. I definitely worry about my shareholders. I need to make them happy. We've gone through a multi-year expansion because we've seen legacy airlines continue to shrink, and we've seen that as an opportunity for us. It has put some stress on our earnings. Still a very profitable company, but could be more profitable? Maybe. I want to go back to the thing I said at the very beginning, which is if our goal is to make sure that you have the best economy experience of any airline, there's a lot of daylight between the sort of the worst experience on JetBlue and the best experience on a lot of legacy airlines. Right now, if you fly on an A320, you're at 34 inches of pitch. The sort of the benchmark pitch you see on a legacy airline right now is, it used to be 32, then it went to 31. Now we see a lot of planes coming out at 30 inches. I still have unlimited snacks. I've got free Wi-Fi. I've got 36 or 100 channels of live TV. There's a lot of stuff I can do and still be by far the best product out there.
So as you guys look at the innovation, as JetBlue contemplates what its future is going to be, where do you see it? Do you see adding hubs? Is it about adding long-haul flying? Is it about, you've just introduced Mint. Do you take Mint and put it onto other routes or something like that? What do you do to stay relevant? Because, the airplanes are the airplanes, the seats are the seats.
Yeah.
What do you do to evolve?
Well, I'll answer that question by starting backwards, which is, I was not here for the founding of JetBlue, but you go back to 2000 when the company first started flying. Flight 1 went from Buffalo to Kennedy to Fort Lauderdale. It was a all-one class product, basically 162 seats at 32 inches of pitch. We still had TV, we still had snacks. But if you look at what JetBlue is now, we are a dramatically different company than we were. I don't think the founders ever imagined that we'd be flying, as far north as Anchorage, as far south as Lima, that we would have a differentiated product on every airplane, that we would have, let's face it, a premium product from New York to the West Coast. And I think that's actually a sign of the maturity of the company that will continue to morph as the customers morph. I think every company, certainly in the airline business, and I've been doing this much longer than I'd like to admit, the companies that don't succeed are the ones that don't find a way to morph. So, I think we've got plenty of ideas as far as where we think the future of JetBlue is. But we always have that sort of North Star that we focus on, which is inspiring humanity. We want to make sure that this is a company that provides the best possible service at the lowest price of any airline in the U.S. And I think no matter where we go, it will always be focused on that.
Okay,
and I think that's actually one of the reasons why the Mint product, which is our new premium service from New York to the West Coast, was designed the way it was. When we looked at the market, the things that we saw in the premium Transcon product were actually very similar to the things that the founders saw in 2000 in the economy market, which was really high fares and really bad service. We looked at that market from New York to the West Coast and said, wow, I can go fly, no offense to my friend Fred, I can go fly Virgin for $2,000 and fly in a 1990s non-lie flat seat. I can do that for a heck of a lot cheaper and have a lot better service. And that sort of was the guiding light that we had designing that product, which was I want to have the best service at the lowest possible price. And I think finding that hole is what's made JetBlue successful from day one.
So if you were to look at JetBlue, I mean, you were talking about you want this great product. It is great if you live in New York and if you live in Boston. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of other places where you are irrelevant. Sure. How do you improve the brand's utility to people, whether they live in cities like San Francisco, where I live, or in Buffalo, or wherever else they are, so that they can have more opportunities to fly the airline? I mean, you're a nothing in some key cities.
Wow, that kind of hurts. Jeez. My mom loves me. Like, jeez, Henry. My kind of mean.
But it's how you've got a very low profile in some key cities, sure. LA, San Francisco, and other markets where arguably if you started to put aircraft in, I bet you would find a great following because you are I think it's fair to say, a beloved brand.
Here's what the challenge is in the airline business, and it is fundamentally a network business. And one thing that's interesting about the airlines, and it's funny, I think back to when we last did our advertising agency pitch. The most important thing we had to communicate to the agency's pitching was that we are a different product in every city we fly to. So we talked earlier about serving the underserved customers and not really targeting road warriors. We do get road warriors in Boston. Boston is an airport where we fly to all the major business markets, and we have big corporate accounts. We sort of have a legacy airline feel in Boston, not with our service because we still have a fantastic product, unlike legacies, but definitely in our network. New York's a very different story. In New York, we are fundamentally a leisure airline, and there's really two drivers to that. One of them is that there's a limited number of slots at JFK and LaGuardia. We've been very aggressive at buying slots when we can, but you're still shuffling the same 160 cards. So if I really want to have 5 flights to Raleigh, it means I can only have 1 flight to Barbados. And profitability-wise, the leisure stuff is profitable. And you also have the challenge of on a short-haul flight, Kennedy can be a tough sell. For medium and long-haul flights, it's not a problem, but with a few exceptions, places like Buffalo, they love us in Buffalo still. But a lot of short-haul flights, it is tough to get someone to go to Kennedy. But I think what's interesting with the airline business, especially through the consolidation, if you go back to when I started in the business, we talked about the big 3. There were 9 or 10 big airlines. There were the 3 big ones and 6 or 7 small ones. Look at the industry right now. We have a big 4. I mean, you've got American, Delta, United, and Southwest combined over 80% of the market in the U.S. Then it takes a big step down to get to, let's call it JetBlue and Alaska, who are sort of 4 or 5% players. What's amazing is, you're giving a description right now of, boy, there's so many places you can grow. I'm also in a place where Wall Street's saying, you guys are growing too fast. So I completely agree with you. I think we have a ton of places to grow. We've taken, I got here in 2006. Boston is now bigger than Kennedy was when I got to JetBlue. Kennedy's sort of, it's grown as much as we could with the slots we had. We've said publicly, Fort Lauderdale is going to be the next Boston, going up over 100 flights a day. We've already become the biggest airline in Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic, with a big focus sitting in San Juan. We see, excuse the pun, we see a lot of runway out there for growth.
So a question for you. Traditionally, airlines have focused on business travelers as the bread and butter. You made the analogy a few moments ago that if you put 4 or 5 flights into Raleigh, it means fewer flights to certain profitable leisure destinations. Is the future for airlines, as we look at factors such as technology, an aging population, at least in North America, and changing ways in which we work, is the future for airlines more in the leisure business than it has been? Is that is that really the new profitable customer?
I can't speak for the legacy airlines because I spent a lot of time at Legacy World. They don't think that way. They definitely think business customers are profitable. It's funny. I used to tell this story when the last place I worked, which will go remain nameless, but it rhymes with benighted. But we did a customer segmentation, and I don't remember the details of the segmentation, but I think we came up with 6 segments. And 5 of the segments were business segments, and they added up to like 45% of the market. And there was a 6th segment called leisure that was like 55% of the customers. Because like leisure, it's filler. We really weren't that focused on it. At JetBlue, we've got a segmentation. There are actually segments of leisure customers that think differently and want different things. So I think everyone's sort of, I hate to use the old cliche, different horses for different courses. Leisure has been very, very successful for us. I think one of the reasons is because the legacies have sort of walked away from it. So I don't pretend to say that the legacy should change their strategy. In fact, I hope they don't, because leisure is working very well for us. But we do still see opportunity to carry business customers. And one thing that I think is interesting is, as you look at customer segmentation, there really is no such thing as a business customer. People are either leisure customers or they're business plus leisure customers. Because pretty much everyone flies. If you're going to fly, you generally fly in leisure, and then some people fly in business. And what we realize is that, if looking at our segmentation, we carry a lot of business customers when they fly in leisure. Because when they actually want to go with their kids to, Fort Lauderdale or to Cancun or wherever, the kids are going to sit in a little airplane with no TVs and bad service, and they're going to sit in a little airplane with no TVs and bad service and say, I could have a much better experience. And that's been our bread and butter.
All right. So we've heard of several references to the importance of technology. JetBlue certainly has a successful website. You've made strides in mobile. You're very successful with social. Do you feel that you're able to take advantage of technology from a marketing standpoint the way you would? How big of a focus is that in terms of enabling your marketing activities? Well,
it's funny. I think in a lot of ways it comes back to the challenge of being a 5% guy instead of being a 25% guy like one of the big airlines. I don't think anyone thinks they have a big enough IT budget. I certainly would love a much bigger IT budget. We've taken some specific places to really invest in technology. Go back to 2000, we were really the first airline to put TV screens in the back of a seat. And trust me, there's not a year that goes by that my board doesn't say, when are you going to stop putting TVs in the back of the seat? We do the research, and we're going to keep the TVs in the seats indefinitely. One thing, and I certainly see it in my own kids, I've got some teenagers at home, I challenge you to find someone looking at one screen at a time. And we certainly see it on their airplanes. People have the TV on and also have Wi-Fi or some sort of personal device going on at the same time. We've also made a very big investment in Wi-Fi. I think for those of you who've used the traditional ground-based Wi-Fi, including one of your sponsors today, on some of the other airlines, the line I use about that is the old Yogi Berra line. nobody goes there anymore, it's too crowded. If people really adapt to that product under the current technology, it's not a great experience. So, we could have had that product many years ago. We chose not to. We said, you know what, I'm going to invest in a much better product, and we have a fantastic product. I don't know if any of you have tried it, but it is actually better broadband than I get at my own house. Now, obviously, Gogo's making a lot of investments. I'm sure they'll catch up at some point. But we've taken some of those customer-facing technologies that we really want to make our bets on, and Wi-Fi has definitely been one of them.
Okay, good. So we have time for some questions. Rafat has the mic, so.
What can you do about the New York airports?
Yeah, oh, God. Well, the answer is nothing. It's frustrating, and I think, there's probably other parts of this building. The other side of the New York Times can tell you more about that. But there is money that's going to be spent on trying to make LaGuardia a much better experience than it is right now. It will be a decade before any of us experiences that, unfortunately. JetBlue was not weighted. I mean, when we've had the opportunity, we tore down the old TWA terminal. We built Terminal 5, which, unquestionably, in my opinion, I take that back, unquestionably the best domestic airline terminal in North America. We get awards continually. And I think what's most important about it is we did this ourselves, okay? We made the decision, I'm going to go buy the terminal, I'm going to tear it down, I'm going to build. So that building cost about $700 million-ish, okay? Now, if you think about that, for the size of it, that's actually relatively cheap. The Terminal 8, just 2 terminals down, the American terminal, twice the expense of our terminal, took significantly longer to build, and nowhere near the customer satisfaction that ours got. My favorite story about our terminal is that we put money where customers see it. We didn't put money where they don't. So the next time you're in Terminal 5, hopefully you've all been there, and hopefully you fly there a lot. But the next time you're in Terminal 5, in the lobby, I want you to look straight up. Just look straight up in the lobby, and when you look at the ceiling, you will see it is basically corrugated aluminum. It is like what you see in a Quonset hut. Now, there are soffits there to hide it. If you don't look straight up, you don't see it. But those are places where we could build a very efficient building. If the port would like to have us rehab LaGuardia, we would gladly do it as long as someone else pays for it. But we think there's a great opportunity here, and it is embarrassing. As an American, I think it's tough to have people go to LaGuardia and realize this is not a great experience. A lot of money has been spent to Kennedy. We started it. Americans spent money, Delta spent money. I mean, Kennedy's a better experience than it has been historically. Road access, different story, but we've talked to New York DOT about that to no avail. But no, New York is an embarrassment. I really wish we could have a much better infrastructure here. But it's, again, we're all, for those of you who are New Yorkers, it's not just airports. I mean, infrastructure is a big problem here in general.
All right, thank you.
Great.
We're out of time, I think.
Yep. All right,
Marty,
thank you very much.
Awesome, thank you. All right, back to you.